unprecedented in my world, and it's free, which is, you know, the most mind-blowing thing. But when I talk about shooting for the stars, but make sure you choose the right galaxy, I sort of glibly had said, yeah, we're gonna get 1 million tweets, and if everybody donates $1, we'll raise $1 million. And in my heart of hearts, I was like so in the weeds, I actually thought we were gonna do that. Like, I never thought about how big is 1 million, and what percentage of that is the overall Twitter population. And then what's the population actually of Alzheimer's sufferers, and what are their like, I didn't do any of that math. And so we really did shoot for the stars, but we probably were sitting in the wrong galaxy. So here's some stuff we learned by virtue of things that went really well. I was pretty audacious in asking people to help. And so whether they were site builders at Cyberplex, whether they were PR folks at Edelman, whether they were just colleagues of mine from past lives like Alex and others, who really just like dropped what they were doing and came out and helped. Some for an hour, some for 5 hours, and some really dedicated tens and hundreds of hours of their time for free behind a cause that they really believed in. And so, you know, the big learning here for me was, and I sort of got it when I was doing Sports Fest, but it really crystallized when I was doing 1 million tweets, is if you feel passionate about something, and what you're doing is compelling enough and hip enough, you can get an incredibly great, motivated, inspired group of people behind you to really do the impossible for almost no money. The second thing brings me back to the early days at eBay, and where we had a mantra that drove all of our actions, which are, people are basically good. And all of the policies and all the strategies at eBay that we adhered to emanated from that one nugget, which are people are basically good. And that proved itself 1,000 times over in 1 million tweets to remember. It was the emails you get, the tweets you get, the number of people from all over the globe that say, what can I do to help, was awesome. What wasn't so awesome is I didn't have a great answer. Well, you could tweet and you could donate, but if I had to do it all over again, I'd probably think about what else can I get people doing? How do I mobilize people in other countries, in other demographics, to do things beyond just the 1 million tweets movement? The third thing was, and this is probably no surprise to everybody in the room, but boy, did this ever work, which was all around personalizing the experience. So, you know, the fact that it was my story and my parents' story, the fact that on the site I talked very candidly about what it was like to live with family members with Alzheimer's, the fact we did the videos, the fact we responded very quickly on Twitter to direct messages, to comments on Facebook, and to emails to let people know that we really appreciated the engagement and the time they were putting forth as part of this movement. Personalizing the goal, so the goal was to raise money for Alzheimer's research with some very tangible and restrictive parameters around where that money was going to be going, both geographically and as far as who was going to be allocated to in the research community. And most importantly was personalizing the experience, allowing people on a platform to do what they wanted. So whether it was photos or video or just text, we gave them really no parameters other than, hey, it can only be a limited number of characters. And that was, I think, a very powerful thing for people, to take control of an experience, a bad experience and a disease that they have no control over, and all of a sudden they own it. And it is their voice that is being heard, and nobody's telling them when they have to do it and what they have to see and how they have to say it. We were very careful, and I got great guidance from friends at Facebook and friends at Artez around how do you work a Facebook fan page? And what is that perfect line between being relevant with content that is timely and spamming people by sending out too much stuff? And I think, you know, as most people know, on the left nav of your Facebook page, there's a relevance indicator that gives you a sense of how many people are opting out of being a fan of your page, how many people are adding, how many interactions do you have with comments and like buttons and stuff. And we were like maniacally focused on that number. And we knew that if that number was good, what we were doing was really good. And if it wasn't, then we needed to change our communication strategy. And finally, maybe not finally, I'll include one other point, but you know, the notion of everybody wants to be part of something much bigger than themselves. And really the beauty of technology these days and the prominence of the social web is that one voice can make a massive, massive difference. And 10 years ago, people would look around and they'd say, I feel passionate about something, like arthritis, because my dad has arthritis, but like, what do I do? You know, I'll go to the Arthritis Society and then they'll get me on the phone and I'll campaign and maybe I can raise some money, you know, send out some emails and some letters, but like, what do I do? And now we're in an era where one human being with very little capital can do massive amounts of things. And I think everybody at the end of the day wants to lie in bed and say, like, I'm one little speck on this little planet we live on, but my speck just got a lot bigger today because I had a big voice in something I was passionate about. And what allows that to happen, obviously, is technology. And so I was lucky that I came from a technology background and then surrounded myself by asking everybody I knew who was in the technology business, who I thought could add some value to help me. But the message really is, it's not all that intimidating, it's not all that complex, and if you ask people that have a skill set that lends itself to technological adventures like this, you're destined for success. And so that's sort of a million tweets, in a nutshell. I'd be happy to talk to you afterwards about it, and I learned lots of other things through the ouches as opposed to the ahs. But it's a really good experience. It continues to live on. It's a going concern and one that I feel passionate about. And even if 1 million tweets was to end tomorrow, and there were 10 other little 1 million tweets that spread it up by virtue of nights like this, or the fact that people find it on the web, it would be a huge success. So thanks very much for your time, and hopefully we can chat.